Welcome back to Masons on the Move. We're the Mason family, and this trip was extra special because we spent Christmas in Canada. We left Atlanta to give our kids a real white Christmas, and let's just say it did not disappoint. This was us at the airport. We're very awake, very excited, and slightly questioning our life choices for traveling on Christmas Eve. The Montreal airport was beautiful. Those chandeliers were stunning, but wow, it was busy. The signage wasn't super clear, and it took us a minute to figure out where the actual rental car shuttle was. We grabbed our rental car and headed into the city for dinner. The streets were packed and festive with lights everywhere. Honestly, it felt like a movie scene. Dinner at Bevo Bar and Pizzeria hit the spot. The pizza was really good and the portions were huge, exactly what you want after a long travel day. This felt different for us, spending Christmas Eve in a totally non traditional way, but also kind of magical. Sometimes switching things up make the memories even better. After dinner, we made the 2 hour drive from Montreal to Quebec City and checked into our hotel. We were exhausted but so excited for Christmas morning. This was our hotel with a fresh dusting of snow and Christmas decorations. We never see snow in Atlanta, so giving our kids a white Christmas was the whole goal of this trip. Christmas breakfast was cozy and rustic. The menu was pretty limited, but we made it work. Breakfast in Canada is definitely more meat forward, lots of sausage and bacon, and they did have salad with breakfast, which felt very European. Morgan went with the yogurt and fruit, and the girls were very into their hot chocolate and whipped cream. The lounge was empty, so Khalil hopped on the piano. He actually takes lessons, so this was a fun little moment before heading out into the cold for the day. Getting dressed took longer than expected. Snow pants, double socks, hats, snow boots, and balaclavas for everyone. This was serious winter gear for us. The town of Quebec City was so beautiful. There was so many Christmas decorations on the street as we were walking through. The girls were obsessed with the snow. Every few steps turned into snowballs, snow angels, and honestly, a lot of slipping and falling and laughing for them. We stopped at this pretty popular tourist area. It was right beside the St. Lawrence River and also near the Fairmont La Château Frontenac, which is a really popular hotel. We did a lot of exploring, looking around, trying to determine what we wanted to do next. We had a pretty loose agenda, and so we really wanted to just go with the flow since it was Christmas Day and it was just something different for us. You can see Marley fell on the floor there. That was one of 132 times she ended up falling on that day alone. I was generally surprised at how many people were out and about on Christmas Day. It was a lot of sightseeing. There was a lot of shops that were still open, and it was a lot of interaction. We saw the funicular, which we did get a chance to go down a little bit, but at this moment, we were just kind of trying to take in the breath of everything. This is the St. Lawrence River. It was partially frozen, and seeing it like this was breathtaking. It really felt surreal to see something like that. This is the Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac. It seriously looks like a castle. And fun fact, it's one of the most photographed hotels in the world. Standing here in the snow felt like we were stepping into a postcard of sorts to be able to be there and see it. The girls had a lot of fun rolling down the hills. You can see tons of kids were out there doing the same thing, just going up and down the steps and rolling back down the hill. That turned into the favorite part of their day. No real fancy plans, just sliding down snowy hills next to a castle on Christmas Day. We went inside the Chateau Frontenac and it was decked out for Christmas, giant trees, warm lights, and lots of beautiful woodwork everywhere. It felt like stepping into a holiday movie set. There was also tons of little boutiques tucked inside the hotel, but they looked really expensive. The tree was massive, probably around 12 feet tall, and then the grand staircase behind it definitely added a little bit more magic. We had to get a quick shot of Khalil too before heading back out into the cold. And then we went over to the line for the toboggan ride. We did not realize that it was going to be over an hour wait. The girls didn't care at all. They were too busy living their best snow life. They were totally unbothered by the cold, snowballs in hand, just ready to get on the ride. Mike handled the weight a lot better than I did, and I'm from Baltimore, so I thought I was built for the cold. Khalil dipped out on us to go sit in a coffee shop until we moved closer to the front of the line. Definitely a smart choice for him. At least the view made the wait easier. The river was partially frozen, and honestly, it looked kind of unreal. Once we finally made it to the front of the line, we had to carry the sleds all the way up the hill. We grabbed two, one for the kids and one for us.
Keep everything inside like that. Don't touch the side. The toboggan will stop by itself. So don't try to stop the toboggan, okay? Okay. Are you ready? Yes. Let's go. Merry Christmas. Merry
It was crazy, but it was definitely worth the wait in line for an hour. We wandered past some of the cutest little shops. Quebec City definitely goes all out for the holidays. Of course, the girls managed to find yet another giant snow pile to climb. For them, it was basically like a giant winter playground. Every time they saw snow, they had to run and play in it. We headed back to the hotel to thaw out and figure out what our dinner plans were going to be. After a quick break, we went down to the lounge and let the kids enjoy some fun mocktails. Honestly, this felt like a win after being outside for so long. It was good to just warm up and enjoy some nice drinks. And plus, the lounge was very pretty, very beautifully decorated. It was a great stopping point before we headed back out. We walked about a mile to grab dinner at a local spot, the Bistro Les Three Garçons. I got the chicken salad. The kids got sandwiches and poutine because when in Canada, you have to try poutine. The food was solid and exactly what we needed after a really long, cold day. This was one of those tired but happy meals where you just sit there smiling because the day was just that good. Walking back through the snow on Christmas night felt kind of magical even though it was freezing. It was about 6 degrees outside. Worth it, but wow, we felt that cold. Day three, we spent most of the day at the Aquarium of Quebec, and honestly, this place was way cooler than we expected. The aquarium is made up of multiple buildings, so you're walking between exhibits, which actually made it feel more like an experience instead of just one big building. They also had hands-on activities for the kids. The starfish touch tank was a hit. And then this happened. One of the divers suited up in a Santa outfit and dove into the tank to feed the fish. We even got to watch him get dressed and jump in, which was a really fun surprise. A lot of the exhibits were outside, so we were definitely feeling the cold, but everyone stayed in good spirits. Seeing the animals in the snow was definitely a kind of magical. And then the polar bears. There were three of them and they were massive. Watching them move around in the snow like it was nothing was wild. We ducked inside to warm up and grabbed beaver tails. If you've never had one, it's basically a big fried pastry. Morgan went with the Reese's one and it was huge. The jellyfish tanks were very peaceful to watch. They had many different varieties. It kind of felt like a reset moment after being outside in the cold and looking at all of the outside exhibits. And then the seahorses were so tiny and delicate. I feel like we could have probably just sat and watched them forever. The girls also got to touch rays during one of the aquarium approved experiences. The rays swam right up to them. It was really a cool, gentle way for the kids to be able to interact with marine life. They just had to put their fingers down there, and then the rays would come and rub right up against their fingers. After the aquarium, we headed to Montmorency Falls and we took a cable car over. Fun fact, these falls are actually taller than Niagara Falls, and seeing them frozen was definitely a unique experience. The waterfall was mostly frozen, and the kids could not get over how massive it was. I feel like the pictures here really don't do it justice. We took the cable car back over and walked up to the visitor center. It looked like a big, giant, beautifully decorated house just for Christmas. It was super cozy and festive as it got dark. By the time we headed out, you can see it was dark and the lights on the water were beautiful. It felt like a really peaceful way to end the day. We ended up popping into the hotel lounge for a bit, just a quiet moment to relax after a full day of exploring. Day 4 in Quebec City, still cold, still beautiful. We started the day with breakfast at a local spot. If you're ever in Canada, you have to try the crepes. They did not disappoint. This one was so good. Then we bundled up and walked through the snowy streets on our way to the Museum de Civilisation. It was freezing, but it was definitely beautiful, and we were happy to be out and about. We spent most of our morning at the museum. One of the main exhibits was the Titanic, and it came with an audio guide. Even though French is the primary language in Quebec City, they had English options, which made it super easy for us to follow along. The tour took about an hour, and honestly, it was much more interesting than we expected. We learned so many things about the Titanic that we didn't know. They also had a lot of fun hands on activities for kids in the lobby. The girls loved this little game. Even though the instructions were in French, they still figured it out anyway. The rest of the museum was full of really creative exhibits. Some were interactive, some were just fun to explore. The kids were really engaged and into anything. We could have stayed longer. And we found ourselves chasing them from one exhibit to another, just trying to keep up with them. And so it was a really good use of the day. And we still didn't even get to go through the entire museum. Saw this really cool coach. We were joking that it kind of looked like Dracula's coach. And this little miniature village museum that was on the top floor. Super educational as well. All the exhibits had a couple of learning opportunities for us there. We popped over into the Notre Dame de Quebec Basilica Cathedral for a quick look inside. It was so beautiful and peaceful in there. Such a cool contrast to the busy streets outside. And then the girls wanted to grab some maple taffy. And so sticky fingers, happy kids. Yes, there was signs warning about falling ice everywhere. Winter in Quebec is no joke, and the city was still super crowded, but somehow it still had that small town feel. We loved just wandering around and taking it all in. Before hitting the road, we made a quick stop at McDonald's. The menu was totally different. They had different things like veggie nuggets and potato wedges, and everything in the menu was in French. We wanted to get the Grinch socks, but we didn't have any luck. They were sold out. After a full day of exploring, we headed out and drove to Montreal to check into the Airbnb. It was a long day, but it was such a good one. Day 5 in Montreal, first stop, the Biodome. We started the day at the Biodome de Montreal. It's basically a indoor nature museum with different ecosystems. This tunnel felt like we were walking through ice. We saw so much wildlife here. It's wild how you can walk through totally different environments without ever going outside. The kids loved the hands-on exhibits upstairs, big smiles and lots of curiosity all around for them. And then the biodome itself is located in this area called Parc Olympique, where the 1976 Summer Olympics were held. It's kind of cool standing in a place with that much history. Then we grabbed dinner in Chinatown in Montreal, and I swear the food here smelled so good. You could smell it from outside. We had the best dumplings of my life. In this spot that we tried. It had wonton soup, pan fried dumplings. We all left so happy and so full. Back at the Airbnb, we started hearing scratching in the ceiling. Yeah, we were definitely laying there like, what is that? Not gonna lie, it was hard to fall asleep After that, we assume it was some kind of raccoon or bird scratching to get in. Day 6 in Montreal, we woke up to a full on Christmas vibe and honestly thought it was going to be a calm morning. About that calm morning, the mystery animal from our ceiling decided to move into the bathroom overnight. Yeah, there were nest remnants in the tub, and we were officially done with the Airbnb. There was an ice storm overnight, so Mike went out to grab us breakfast. I got tired of waiting, so I went to find him. We had to buy spikes for our shoes just to walk outside without slipping everywhere. Once the ice started melting, we headed to the Insectarium. Fun fact, the Insectarium is one of the biggest insect museums in North America, and it's designed to make you feel like you're entering different insect habitats. I did not realize how many kinds of insects actually exist, like at all. There were rooms dedicated to everything from tiny ants to massive beetles. Some were beautiful and some were definitely not my thing. Next, we walked through this tunnel into what's called the Butterfly Garden, and this place was insanely huge. Like it looked like it was a tropical jungle right out in the middle of winter for us. As we walked, the anticipation was building, and you could immediately see all kinds of butterflies. As soon as we walked in, they were everywhere. You see, we were grabbing our phone to get out and record them. And so it was very interesting. I'd never seen a butterfly habitat this big where the ceilings went up as high as this one did, and it was so many different types of plants and greenery and things there, and so that made it even more special. Of course, one immediately landed on Mike. The butterflies choose their favorite person for sure.
They're up there. That one has his wings on. There's two in there. And there's one right there.
There's a bunch of them in the tree.
There were these little feeding spots all around the garden that attracted the butterflies to be able to get closer to you. And fun fact about butterflies, they taste with their feet, which feels like something we didn't need to know, but now we do. It was really cool because it allowed us the opportunity to get to see the butterflies a little bit closer than you normally would if you were just walking through a normal jungle. This was wild to watch. It was worker ants carrying food back to their nests in this really long, detailed, organized trail. Tiny creatures doing some big teamwork here for sure. The trail went on for a really long time and it was so many ants. After that, we walked over to the Montreal Botanical Gardens. It's famous, but visiting in the middle of winter after an ice storm meant everything was frozen and bare. It was still kind of magical seeing the kids play in the snow. Just for them, any opportunity to be able to make snowballs and play in the snow was something that they looked forward to, and you could see all around how the gardens may fill out and look really, really nice when the weather is warmer in Montreal for sure. For some reason, Morgan decided to pick up a giant sheet of ice, and this piece of ice is bigger than her almost. And then she carries the sheet on for a bit, and then for some reason, she passes it to Marley, and then she's walking it. Nevertheless, we are walking back out towards the exit so that we can head out of the gardens and get on with the rest of our day. We stopped by the Notre Dame Basilica of Montreal. It was late, so we only saw the outside, but the giant holiday stars made it look like a castle, and it was so nice. We grabbed ramen nearby, and honestly, every meal we had in Montreal was so good. Obviously, we had to stop at the French bakery, the fresh baguette while walking through the streets. Yes, please. Cold, tired, and full, and calling it a night. That was the end of day 6. Our last morning in Montreal, day 7, we were flying home, so we did get an early start with some breakfast. Morgan said breakfast rules don't count on travel days. Having a milkshake with whipped cream before noon is crazy. We had delicious Belgian waffles, a grilled cheese with French fries, and really delicious French toast with powdered sugar and fruit all over it. It was a great way to start the day. Then we headed to the museum, the Montreal Museum of Archaeology and History. The basement shows early history of Montreal with original stone walls. It really felt like we were walking through time. This was what we were most excited for, the Sherlock Holmes exhibit. We waited about an hour to get in, but it was totally worth it. You move through the exhibit, solving a mystery and collecting clues along the way, and we were all in full detective mode. Fun fact, Sherlock Holmes first appeared in 1887, and people loved him so much that when the author tried to kill him off, fans literally protested until they brought him back. There was also this really cool pirates exhibit where we got to go and take the kids through. There was this giant octopus, talking parakeet directions. It felt like we were walking into a storybook. And of course, the kids had fun playing around on the pirate ship, and Mike discovered his true calling as a pirate. This last room had some famous pirates, mock place settings, and a bunch of fun photo ops. It was such a cool way to wrap up the museum. And just like that, our trip was over, back to the airport, headed home, tired in the best way. Canada was cold, but it was so worth it. Thank you so much for watching with us, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.